Hello, we are going to start the tutorial. This is a tutorial that was made at Sony CSL by François and I'm going to present it today. François is not here. There are some practical information to know. This address is very important because you're going to be able to access the audio files. There are things in the audio files that are quite difficult to hear. It's going to be very tricky to hear them in the room, so it's nice if you go back at home and listen to them with headphones or on a dedicated environment. There should be a coffee break in the middle of the tutorial, and the coffee break should be just right here. And then lunch is provided for people who registered for both morning and afternoon tutorials. This is the plan for the tutorial. It's divided into 4 parts. Since we started 15 minutes late, I'm trying to be a bit faster, but I might finish at 1:15, we'll see. There are 4 parts, and we're going to have a break at the middle. The first part is a part in which I'm going to roughly explain what is studio production, what are we going to talk about. Parts 2 and 3 are showcases, let's call them that. And part 4 is M.I.R specific showcase, we can call it this way. There are a lot of audio examples in this tutorial. These audio examples come from mainly they are recent music from the Anglo-Saxon world. It's useful to know that because you know what we are studying. Let's start. The first part is what is studio production? How can we define it? We're going to go back in time a bit, the 50s. The general rule in music in the 50s is that people play music, as they've been doing for quite a long time, and then we record it, or somebody records it. In the 70s, things have changed. You can see that the Pink Floyd guys are playing with the tools they normally use to record. There is a lot of sound processing. It's quite difficult to know what may be an instrument or maybe not. For instance, you've got this synthesizer. It's quite difficult to recognize as such in the recording. Or something happened between these two movements. And naturally, studio production, which is our subject, happened. This is a word cloud that was generated from a book which is called Modern Recording Techniques, and it shows basically what is production made of. Everyone can hear me all right? Everything okay? Yes. We can try to define studio production. There is, for instance, William Moylan that says the recording medium is used for its own creative potentials. It's a fair definition. When did it appear? Obviously between the 50s and the 60s, and the 70s, sorry. And Greg Milner, in his book Perfecting Sound Forever, thinks that it happened with the Beatles. At some point, the Beatles stopped doing concerts and they went into the studio exclusively. This is not strictly true because there was some studio production before the Beatles. For instance, The Wall of Sound by Phil Spector was before the Beatles, and it was studio production as well. But we can say that the Beatles made a classic use of studio production, something which is a reference. It's fair to say that. I'm going to go straight to the matter and listen to some music. Have a seat, Geoffroy. Je t'en prie. Bon, juste ici, pas de caméra marche de toute façon. C'est bon, elle marche, tout va bien. Donc il n'y a pas de souci. I could do a lot of technical explanations about studio production, but it's better to listen to some examples. These are two albums which should be very similar. It's part of what is called the Gothic trilogy from The Cure. One is made in 1980, the other one in 1982. And it's the same band, it's the same music genre, it's the same instruments, the same era, everything should be the same, or at least very similar. But they are not produced the same way. They are produced very differently from each other. We are going to focus on the drums. So I'm going to ask you to listen to some drum samples from each album. We start with the first extract. The first album, sorry. This album was recorded using this kind of microphones. They give a very specific result. It sounds like this, and I hope it's going to work properly. The drums are dry. This is the same thing with another song from the album. Is the level okay? Is it too loud? Not loud enough? It's okay? Okay, so you remember this drum sound. And now we switch to the other album, and I'm going to play you some drums. The same goes to another song. No, it's not the same thing because they were recorded very differently. For instance, well, not for instance, in this case, the room in which it was recorded is this room in a London studio. It's very large, and the producers, the guy who recorded them and who wrote the album, wanted to have an impression of the drums, which is very different, which is loud and noisy. So, it's not the same thing, almost not the same instruments. And the interesting thing is that the whole album, in each case, is produced this way, which naturally results in the album effect that most of you know about. Since most songs in an album, in a single album, are produced the same way, but they are produced very differently from songs from other albums, the album effect appears. Many people think that recording music is a faithful process. You have an instrument, you want to record it. In this particular case, it's not the case. When you record drums, you have ambience microphones, like this. And in this case, they put the ambience microphone 30 feet or 9 meters from the drum kit. And for that matter, from all instruments except the voice. It gives this kind of drum sound. It's different from the first example. It's different from the second example. And we can go like this forever. The three top examples are different from each other. You listened to them already. And let's listen to another drum sound. And to another one. And to another one.
Goddamn, I love women. Daydream about penis being in them. Meet them with a big grin with a Mac 10 broke.
Which leads me to say that drums are not an instrument as such, but they are the ensemble, the combination of instruments and production. That's how studio production sounds. let's see, who makes studio production? Originally, in the 50s, you've got, or even in the 60s, you've got Elvis Presley. He's not a sound engineer, he's a singer, he's an artist, he's a musician. And on the right, you've got sound engineers at Abbey Road. They don't look like musicians, they are not. Those are two different worlds, right? And then, this is the first album we listened to, 17 Seconds. The lead singer and writer and the frontman wanted, he was, maybe 22 years old, something like that. He wanted to produce the album, to do the sound from the album. It was not very easy because studio time was expensive back in the 80s. But he eventually produced the album, but it was not yet well perceived. He had trouble doing that. During the course of the 80s, the 90s, people who are musicians are producers as well. They get, for instance, you've got Brian Eno. He was a musician with Roxy Music. He was a musician on his own, but he produced the album Joshua Tree from U2, very successful album. More recently, you've got Kendrick Lamar, which is an American rapper. He's an artist, he's a producer, he's both. It's beginning to be difficult to distinguish. Our friend Kanye West, which is undoubtedly a star. He's got scandals and everything. He's a frontman in the traditional sense. He's a prolific producer as well. This is the 101 best Kanye West produced songs, meaning he produced many more songs. There is not really a difference anymore, at least in my opinion, or for certain music genres, between the musician and producer. It begins to be the same. This is the credits for the last album from the DJ David Guetta. You can see that the producers, they are credited as such, are the same guys, or a subset of the music writers. David Guetta being both writer and producer. Well, which means nowadays it's very difficult to distinguish one from the other. We've got laptop computers which are as powerful as the Abbey Road studios back in the day. You sit in front of your computer, you do music with Pro Tools or anything else. You do the work of both a producer and a musician. Let's proceed and go under the hood in the engine. Production relies on effects a lot. You've got many kinds of effects. They are effects. I'm not going to go into details to pitch shifting. Everyone knows it because the autotune is a pitch shifter. Reverb. This room has a reverb. That's the acoustics. You can do a lot of things. Traditionally, they are considered as effects. Naturally, that's why they are called effects. But we can talk about the fact that they are not really that much more than effects. The most traditional effect is called the equalizer. You've got two kinds of equalizer. The graphic equalizer is the one that consumers use, and the parametric equalizer is the one that producers generally use. It's indispensable. You can't have studio production without an EQ. This is, for instance, the mixing desk on which the Beatles recorded many albums, I think. It's got a parametric equalizer on the right, a huge one. So what do we do with EQs? We do many things. Equalizer, EQs, right, that's the same thing. We can process things very drastically, and we can process them to enhance them.
Sorry, what's the difference between the two kinds of equalizers?
Oh.
Maybe I'm the only
yes.
guy here, but
this one is more flexible. Let's say you want to boost or remove a frequency. You've got an idea of how drastic you want to be, but you don't know the frequency because it's quite difficult to hear a precise frequency. You swipe the frequency range with only one control, which is this one here. With this one, it's not possible. You can't swipe anything.
So each of the graphic EQ is a separate frequency.
Yes,
band,
that's it.
Quite fixed.
Yes.
Whereas the parametric EQ, you can dial it in and select the actual frequency that will be promoted.
But you will see examples of how this works just 3 slides away, 4 slides away. So, drastically, process drastically. So this Eiffel Tower is not exactly as the first one, and we're going to listen to the vocals from this extract. Okay, so we are processed, so no question about that. Let's listen to this one.
Love, love is a verb. Love is a doing word. Feel someone.
The vocals are bright, right? They are not awfully transformed, processed, but they are processed. So this equalizer can be used to, this is a second kind of use. You can mask or unmask particular sound qualities. You've got names for sound qualities for each instrument. For instance, to answer your question, with a parametric equalizer, you can look for the fullness of the strings, let's say. So you swap the frequency range to look for it, and then you find it. And then you boost it, or you remove it as part of the sound. With a graphic equalizer, you can't do that. You're going to have to boost or remove frequencies from each band and see what it's going to do. It's going to take you 1 whole minute. It's too long. Unmasking, the subject of unmasking is very interesting. Let's say I have a snare drum and I want it to be, I don't know, I want to hear its bite, which is here. But I've got problems because I have frequencies around 1 kilohertz, and they mask this aspect I want. So I remove frequencies from 1 kilohertz, and then I will hear this bite. It's a bit similar from high dynamic range photograph, meaning that you don't really add anything or remove anything in a way. You just reveal what is in the picture of the audio extract, but that couldn't be heard. In a way, in that sense, it brings truer than life representations. It's not really an effect. Maybe it's our ear. It's an optimization for the ear, so we can listen to things better. Another use for VAQ. First one is attenuation of resonances. If you record an acoustic guitar, for instance, the note is provided by the string, okay? It's amplified by the body, right? The body is a resonator. A resonator has got some resonance frequencies, mode propre in French. So it produces some vocal formants, no, some frequency formants, and maybe you want to remove them because you may want a neutral guitar sound. Most people want a neutral guitar sound. So you remove them with this equalizer. This is an equalizer that removes several frequencies to make the sound more flat, let's say, to whiten the spectrum. It's a very common thing to do in studio production. Even more common, the removal of the proximity effect. I'm not going to go into details into the proximity effect, but when you listen to someone very close to this person, the person's voice has a lot of bass frequencies. I mean, very close here. And when you are 2 meters or 1 meter even from the mouth, you hear a normal voice, let's say. In pop music and in every kind of music, I think, especially in pop music, the microphone when recording the singer is always in front of the guy, so as not to have the acoustics. So every sound engineer or producer removes the bass frequencies. So what do we have when we record a voice? We have a voice that is acoustically close, but which is spectrally far. So it's a voice that doesn't exist. It never exists. The same goes from the attenuation of resonances. Every guitar has acoustic resonances. Every instrument has acoustic resonances. If you remove them, the instrument doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it's not a faithful rendering of the instrument. It's a problem of production-specific aesthetic purposes. So when we use production, we don't correct the sound to make it faithful to reality. We do something else. We try to have an interesting sound. Production is not sound recording. You don't have an instrument that you want to record. You have an instrument that you do record, but it's on the record. It goes out from the speakers. It's not here anymore. You want to have something nice, not something which is accurate. You don't. It's quite a particular frame of mind. It's very well known in the motion pictures, and this example I think will be quite clear. You have battles in space. Battles in space don't make sounds because there is no air. But if you listen if you look at Star Wars, the battles in space are very realistic, even though they don't correspond to anything true. If you put a sound of little cats meow on it, okay, it won't be believable. But it's not much more realistic than the sound we have in Star Wars, because there is no sound, we can't put anything. The same goes in music. Let's listen to this very, very well-known track. Okay, it sounds like they recorded the vocals, and that the singer is angry, and that the job of the sound engineer or the producer was to faithfully render Kurt Cobain's anger. Actually, it doesn't go this way.
And the chorus we double tracked. They wanted to make it sound more powerful.
I feel stupid and contagious.
And he was great at double tracking. He would just run down a take and do another take, and they always locked up really, really well.
I'm a skater, my libido.
The vocals are two vocals. There is no such thing as two Kurt Cobains singing together because they don't exist. It's not faithful, it's not sound engineering, it's production. You want to have an effect and you do anything to get to it. And the result is quite convincing because you have a very angry Kurt Cobain, which was the point. So it's okay, everyone is happy. Bon, the field we are in is called music information retrieval, and for the moment I've been speaking about sound, right? So you may think that, okay, ISMIR, sound, can we speak about music a bit? So let's see. I think it's difficult to speak about music nowadays without speaking about sound. It may be understood as a question of affordance. Let's say you write this part. This is a true track from Eminem. It goes very fast. Are you going to put a very slowly evolving sound on it? No, you won't, because it won't make any sense. With this part, you can't afford a slow evolving sound. Conversely, if you start with a slow evolving sound, something which goes up very slow and then goes down very slow, you can't afford this track. It's not possible. It goes too fast. It won't sound like anything. This is the mean spectrum for 55 kick drum tracks. And we can see that the faster the kick drum, the more there are some frequencies around this range. These are the frequencies of the plosives in the vocals, t, k, s, things like that. And this is quite natural. If you've got a very fast kick drum, you don't want it to make woo, 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 because you won't understand anything. But it may go both ways. If you start from a very round and something without any attack, you will write a very slow track with it. It's quite natural. Is it relevant at all to distinguish between sound and music anyway? The process, what I did for this page, you listen to the original track, you transcribe it, and then you play it with a very, very dumb general MIDI with sound fount or with table. In a way, it removes the production, it removes the sound. So this is the original. And this is the version without the sound. Is it even the same song? Is it even the same music? I'm not really sure. You might think it's an example that was taken on purpose because there is a lot of reverb, but no, it actually gets worse. And you remove the sound. I think it's not relevant to distinguish between sound and music in many cases. You can't say that there are the music, which is made from notes, and then the sound, at least from these examples. It gets even worse with electronic music. For instance, this is what genre it is? Dub, I think. If you remove the sound from this, it's not going to go very far. Okay, you just can't listen to it. It's not music anymore, practically. It's not acceptable. Okay, but up to this point, I've been dealing with static sound, meaning you've got a saxophone sound, you've got a saxophone sound. The saxophone sound, as perceived, doesn't really change. During the track, it doesn't suddenly turn into a clarinet sound, for instance. But actually, in modern music, let's say that, pop music, you've got a lot of elements that are not music as we used to understand it. They are sound, but they evolve with time. So let's focus on these two parts. I've drawn lines because I didn't know what to do to write it down. This is some sliding filters on these two parts. This is an arpeggio part and a pad part. A pad is a very slowly evolving keyboard. Okay, I think everyone hears it. Okay. This is sound and music, both. Well, defending the argument according to which one shouldn't separate one from the other. So, this kind of resonant filters can be found everywhere. At the beginning, they were found in electronic music, but they found their way into more mainstream genres. The bass in this track.
Come from way above to bring me love.
Okay, everyone's got it, I think. The keyboard and bass in this track.
Our freedom's consuming itself. Is contrary to what we want. Take a bow.
Okay, for everyone? Is there anyone that doesn't hear it? No? No. Electronic musicians, they overuse it. I don't know, they use it a lot. So let's listen to the front synthesizer. Okay, how do I transcribe that? I don't know. But it's time-evolving sound. It's the very definition of music, time-evolving sound. Music sound that evolves with time. Okay, something which is more subtle. This is a classic problem. You've got a bass drum, boom, 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 boom. You want to put something on the afterbeat. Generally, most people put a closed hi-hat cymbal, so it goes boom, 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 boom. Everyone knows that. A more interesting answer, instead of putting this kind of instrument, I put this. It's a flat note. But I use a compressor on it. Compressor is a dynamic handler. It modifies the loud and the not loud and the soft. There is something on compressor which is called the sidechain input or side key input. What does it do? When there is a lot of level on the side chain input, for instance the bass drum has a lot of level on the attack, it applies a negative gain to the keyboard, which amounts to the fact that the loudness of the keyboard eventually goes like that. We are going to listen to it afterwards. Okay, this is a very well-known technique, but it's already quite funny. I mean, if you answer the question, what kind of eighth note I'm going to have here? No, I'm going to have a very long note, but I'm going to process it. So it sounds a bit like an eighth note. The process itself, the process of mind, is quite funny, and it's a production-specific process. But at least for some people, it works for some people. It doesn't work for some other people. When you have a very loud sound, the same, but it's got the same fundamental frequency, but you play it soft and you play it loud, and many people hear the loud as with a higher pitch. It doesn't work with musicians because musicians are used to isolate the pitch from the other parameters. Well, let's listen to it, and we will see if you listen to it, if you can hear it. It seems to me, and it seems to the Journal of Experimental Psychology as well, that the louder piano note appears higher pitched. Does it work for at least some of you? No? Yes? Yes. Yeah, well, that depends on the people. Our keyboard loudness, which was here, is now here. It goes from not loud to loud. So does its persist pitch. Let's listen to it. Once more. You can superimpose the pattern la 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 on it, and it works quite well. If you try to superimpose la 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 la, it doesn't work at all. And
because you're hearing the bass drum as well as the keyboard.
yes.
Right, so the bass drum is pitched.
Yes. Well.
So you are hearing.
It's difficult to speak about the bass drum pitch, but I know what you mean. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Right. The guy who did this album had added a sliding filters on it. We saw what it is. And in this case, you're right. You hear clearly a pitch on the kick drum, and then with the hi-hat. So you've got an interesting mix of traditional music parameters, a hi-hat, and you've got it's mixed with weirder musical parameters, loud, less loud, a sliding filter, some kind of illusion. It's quite an interesting extract. That is to say that it's quite difficult to, in these cases, to distinguish from sound from music. It's not possible to distinguish from sound from music in this case, not at all. Is production, I changed the matter, is production restricted to the studio? Because production obviously deals with the studio, you've got compressors, effects, it's in the studio. There are some bands for which, no, it is not restricted to the studio. Traditionally, you make a tune or music and then you rehearse it. Well, if you record something in the 50s, you rehearse your piece, you play it, and then you record it. You can do the same live. You play it live and you record it. It goes from live to the record. It's in this order. Nowadays, things may be different. Depeche Mode is an example of this process. You spend a lot of time in the studio, and after you've done, you've got to play this live. What do? You adapt to the live performance. This is at least testified by this guy, which is the keyboardist from the band Alt J. So they released the album first, recorded it, wrote it, produced it, everything. And then they had some problems because it was difficult to play live. It's the other way around. Let's compare the studio version to the live version. I'm going to stop talking because it's going to be written on the video.
So
guess this is convincing. They play what they did in the studio.
I have a question.
Yes.
The drummer changes the sounds manually, or you implied that there's a time code?
I'm not sure.
It's pre-programmed, and after a given...
It's difficult to say. One thing is sure is that the show does run on time code. In some smaller venues, you can hear their tick, tick, tick in their headphones. It's funny. But maybe, I don't know, it's difficult to say.
It's not uncommon that they purposely don't put everything synchronised so that the musicians do get a feeling of they're able to, I mean, they're still playing against the click track, so sometimes that's good, right? Because the other scenario that a lot of bands report is we're playing in front of a huge crowd, the drummer gets, speeds up. So sometimes the machine's actually beneficial, but they often try and keep a lot of it live.
Okay, back to ISMIR. ISMIR doesn't really know about production, which is not to say that there are no papers about it. Out of more than 1,000 papers, 15 papers observe that studio production is a source of difficulties in their tasks, mostly due to the album effect. They typically think that the sound prevents them from hearing the music. 8 papers suggest that a better knowledge of production may be useful. And then there is a characterization of production, and then there is automatic mixing. I think I disagree with the second quote, for instance. Audio features that are unrelated to the underlying music. Okay, it may be true in some cases, but according to all what I said, it doesn't make any sense. But well, let's see how other communities deal with production. DAFX, they've got a subject that is intrinsically related to production. Audio effects design is naturally related to production. But they don't really mention production as such. They might. Automatic mixing is a way to objectivize production, because you deal with what we might call mixing is the essence of production. You don't have production without mixing. Mixing is a huge part of what you do in the studio. Automatic mixing papers are de facto audio production papers, and they are mostly published in the AAES journal or conferences. It's naturally the historical inheritance of having the singer on the left and the guys in white blues doing sound engineering on the right. But this might evolve. This ends the first part. There are many aspects to studio production. We are going to have to concentrate on 2. Limiters and production of vocals. Limiters, you will see that it's very funny, even though it's just a simple audio process. And then afterwards, we'll see what automatic mixing is about.